I have a very important.
This is a federal country.
No. I have a very important interjection to make, and then you can continue your argument. One interjection, Siddharthji. One interjection.
Yes, please.
When I said that I said that I'm not getting into the morality of the debate, I raised something very specific to you. What is written in the FIR? That there were certain people who were allegedly close to the office of Delhi Deputy Chief Minister, and there is a certain degree of nexus that was operating. The BJP is reiterating time and again that the manufacturers were given these licenses, which is not in line with the stated policy of the state. Could you answer on these aspects, which are not moral in nature or merely a difference of political opinion, but actually border on criminality? Please come to that, sir.
Yeah, Anusha, as I said, I'll answer all the questions, including the portion in which I have to put in my point of view.
Okay.
Now, an excise policy or any policy, it has to be challenged. Tomorrow, if Tamil Nadu comes up with a policy and the BJP government doesn't like it, rather than fighting out that policy on the floor of the house or going to court, can they just unleash their CBI and ED, which are called as caged parrots by the Supreme Court? They cannot do that. Now, they are speaking about a corruption angle here. How come a policy which is increasing the revenue of the government nearly twofold, and it is not increasing a single vendor in Delhi, and ethically and morally also, the government is coming out of the business of selling liquor, how can that policy be bad? And if that policy is bad, then the Gujarat's policy, Gujarat is a dry state, and just few weeks ago, dozens of people have died in Gujarat. There has been a huge tragedy. Obviously, there is some policy mistake there. Why isn't the CBI going to Gujarat and asking the people, how did you make this policy? How can people die of huge tragedy?
I will take this political debate forward with Vineet Goenka and Siddharth Sharma. I want to bring in my other guest as well. Siddharthji, I've given you all the time. I'll come back to your arguments, take them to the BJP spokesperson as well. Mr. D.K. Giri is also with us on the broadcast, Shantanu Sen and Kapil Sankla. Mr. Giri, coming to you, whether somebody is guilty or not, or whether a policy was bad and there were kickbacks, is a matter which has been a point of debate between various political parties in the recent political history of this country. Unfortunately, very few of them, and these are exceptions that could be proved in a court of law. Where do you see this war of words really going in the next few days? D.K. Giri.
I think my perspective is that I'm really confused about how we are governing our country now. A policy matter which should be discussed in the assembly now is investigated by CBI. The freebie that was given by different parties is being discussed in the Supreme Court. What is our parliament and assembly doing? They make the policy. They should debate it within the parliament and the assembly. Now let me tell you, this is all about policy, which is absolutely a political issue. Now look at the disinvestment policy, privatization policy. Fingers can be raised there. When you disinvest a company, you may have a quid pro quo. You may have kickback. These are suspicions which can be thrown about. So on a matter of suspicion, on a policy issue, how is CBI, how is court involved? Now tell me, 2 or 3 officers have been suspended. What have they got to do with policy making? Why were they suspended by CBI? I mean, by the government, or they have been there is a fire against them? Do they make the policy? I think there is a great amount of confusion about how we should run our democracy. Supreme Court is there to interpret the policy, not to make policy.
It's a legislative function, and you're right, Mr. Giri. Mr. Giri, you're right that unless there is an element of criminality, the CBI or the courts cannot get involved. Mr. Shantanu Sen, I'm coming to you. As a former CBI officer, in a case of this nature, especially when there are allegations of quid pro quo, how difficult it is for an investigation agency of the caliber of the Central Bureau of Investigation to actually successfully take a case to a conviction. There are various challenges. Precedents have told us in the past that it may be all great to make these allegations in the charge sheet and in the FIR, but securing a conviction becomes very, very tricky. Mr. Shantanu Sen.
Conviction is 10 years away after filing the charge sheet. So let us not talk about conviction.
Sure.
Conviction is a trial. Before that, a trial is 10 years from now. Our trials take that much time. Here, what is the question? Whether CBI has been directed or CBI is acting under the law. Now, let us see how CBI took up this case. CBI did not find any lapse in the policy of its own. A constitutional authority, who is a competent authority, who is the whole-scale master of law and order, land and police, who is completely master of anti-corruption in the Delhi state, has given a complaint on 22nd of July, that is 29 days from today, to the CBI, alleging that this policy has been so implemented that corruption has taken place. Now, CBI has taken 28 days to work on this information. As per the CBI crime manual, CBI has to look into exhibits, documents, talk to people in confidence, find out who are the persons of interest, find out their location, find out their addresses, find out their role actually in this case. And they have taken 28 days to do that. After that, they have mounted a search operation. The search is at 31 locations over 7 states.
Yes.
And they have prepared their own FIR. They have not gone by the complaint. They have prepared their own FIR naming 15 persons involved, and they call them accused, but they are actually at the present moment persons of interest. Now CBI should be allowed to investigate. And investigate honestly and freely. And whether CBI is being used or misused is a matter which, of course, the political parties on both sides will raise.
Sure.
There is a feeling that the central agencies are being misused.
Yes.
And it is true that central agencies are investigating only people of the opposition.
Yes.
But then you will recall, India is 75 years old today, and there is history where opposition has used its powers of investigation to get the government to investigate its misdemeanors.
Sure.
We recall the Vivian Bose Commission, Dalmia Airways, we recall the LIC scandal, we recall the Harshad Mehta case, we recall the Bofors case. We recall so many cases where the government has been asked to investigate. The opposition leaders
I think,
are
Mr.
of
Sen,
not that
you
caliber,
pointed out few things very
there
briefly
is no
here.
Ram Manohar lawyer.
That CBI, the procedure with which that they have taken up the case is actually the correct procedure, and it's not that they've taken up their case on this on their own. I'm short of time. Kapil, I want to come to you. To each viewer who's watching this debate unfold in the last 48 hours, they want to know, where does the law stand? If a viewer wants to make an independent assessment of what went wrong, did something actually went wrong, what are the various legal facets of a case that one should really look at?